I'm burning up, hot flashes got me sweating like a sauna, body feeling different, hold creeping like a drama, clock hits 3 wide awake.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What the Pause. My name is Emilia Cartsonas, and I am your podcast host and creator. Today we have Laura Kusto. Laura comes to us and is going to talk about her own experience. And then we're also going to discuss more of the leadership, how she sees leadership, speak to mentor, teach leaders who are actually coaching or leading those in menopause. So I want to welcome Laura to the show today. Thank you so much. And I'd like to have you talk about your personal journey through menopause from Perry, what support you received, if any, and then where you are right now.
Sure. Yeah. So my journey through this has been, well, I think every woman has their own unique journey. I'm like, how do I describe it? I think the best way to do it is just kind of get into it. Um, I think it came on in a way that I didn't realize it was happening. I thought maybe I was a little too young. And it was also overlaid with, I'm just going to call it misalignment with where I was at in life and some personal choices that I had made. Um, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and her dad and I have had a back and forth relationship. And a couple years before perimenopause really kicked in, he and I decided to give our relationship one more shot. We were really good co-parents. And so we made that leap. And the probably the gist of it is that in that 2.5, 3 years that we were back together, we realized why we had gotten divorced in the first place. And yes, we are way better co-parents. So we went back to being that way. But during that time we were together, my body started speaking to me very loudly, much more loudly than it had spoken the first time I was with him because I was in perimenopause. And I mean, I'm talking, a little bit of weight gain. And but the biggest, I think, symptom I had was insomnia, massive insomnia. And it was really related to me not feeling safe to be myself with him. Not, he loves me. He still, I think, loves me in a certain way, but he doesn't like, I don't, it's not like it's almost like on a friendship level, didn't love being around me. We're both very independent people, almost too independent to be together. So to the
Sure.
point where I didn't feel like I could, just sit and relax, I guess, around him. And I didn't really realize that. It was more of a subconscious thing. And so it was going through that helped me realize, oh, wow, I really am in perimenopause. And other things related to just like how fast my body would recover, wouldn't recover, or, going to the gym and talking with other women at similar stages, learning about different supplements, different eating habits that people had, shifting some of those things. And then eventually I did go on a like low dose HRT around age 47, 46, 47. And I'm only a year or so past that. I'm not in menopause yet.
Okay.
Just very, very peri, I guess is how I would describe it.
Yes.
But what perimenopause has done for me is it's made me realize what is out of alignment. And the glaring experience that I have had is that my ability to tolerate misalignment has gone way down, and it's required me to then deal with that and decide what am I going to do. And I've always been someone who does something. I
Yes.
don't tolerate the wrong thing, knowing that this is truly wrong for me. Because of that, I'm a very curious and adventurous person. But then because of that misalignment thing with me, my life has had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of transformation. Transformation, I wouldn't say it comes easy to me. I don't think it comes easy to anyone.
No.
But I have transformed my life many, many, many times. And I'm really nearing, I would hope, the end of a pretty major one. And one that I am doing very mindfully with the goal of I'm finally choosing what I want. I am choosing
Yes.
exactly what brings me alive. And I'm building my life in a way where I'm not basing it on like if this partner comes into my life or there's no ifs about anybody else. It's finally just full accountability for my life and where I'm going. And that feels just really, really good. And people that show up and cross my path and become a part of that life are the ones I think that I'm just gonna say those are the ones that are meant for me. And in a way, I almost feel like this is the life I should have been living all along. It's just taken me this long to believe in myself and captain my own ship.
I love that, Laura. You spoke a lot about different themes when you were describing yourself, and I think that a lot of women right now listening and watching are resonating with you. I know I am.
Oh.
And first of all, you thought you were too young to start peri, and that's very common because I thought we start peri at 50, and then our periods would be done at 52. And I'm in late stage as well, and I'll be 55 this year. And I'm like, wow, okay, and on HRT as still as well. And it's interesting. Now, let me just clarify. Are you with your partner or no, just co-parenting now?
Nope, we are just co-parents.
Okay, fantastic. And it's really interesting because I had the same aha moment when I was going into perimenopause, didn't know it. I didn't like my husband at all. We were more roommates than anything. And I thought at first, okay, is this perimenopause? Am I going crazy? And then I said, we all do the self-reflecting. I did it early, thank goodness, when my kids were
Mhm.
5 and 2. And that way they've known this life of 50% here, 50% there in terms of access that we have here in Ontario. And now I think to myself, when I reflect upon that time, I go, no, it wasn't perimenopause. It was definitely something that wasn't aligning with me and my needs. And
Mhm.
so that is something that we really don't see until, I know for myself, we've had to transform, like you said, and we've been in survival mode. We've been told, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And there's things I won't tolerate as well. And a lot of women here will not tolerate either. But I believe too that a lot of women are a little bit fearful of actually understanding who they are, what they will tolerate. And, and I say to those people, don't be fearful. Like just give you an example, and then we're going to talk about your career and what you're doing right now.
Mhm.
Is the fact of the matter is that I'm going through a job loss, and it was a massive one. I taught for a local college. I'm a professor in business, and they laid off 500 faculty members, the largest in Ontario, anyway, here in Canada. And a lot of those people were midlife, tons
Yeah.
of them. And they're like, what do we do now? We thought we were going to retire. We thought we didn't have to do this complete shift or pivot. And a lot of women my age are terrified, but they have help. They have an income with their husband, whatever. And I speak to those that are like us, doing our own thing, creating our own businesses, really loving what we do, and we don't care what people think about it. And for an example, like I love astrology. We talked about that too when we had
Mhm.
our pre-interview, and I believe in that very much so in terms of destiny and what the universe has for me. And my daughters will say, oh, that's a little bit hokey pokey. And I said, well, you don't understand this right now, but you will later, and really fine tune into that. So when it
Mhm.
comes to alignment for me, I'm not one that's I'm going to search for any job. I'm going to search for any job because I need the money. No, now that would have been me 20 years ago. Now it's no, I know what my worth is, and I know what I can give. And sometimes I say to myself, do I want to make another leader a multimillionaire? No, not really. I like to make myself one. So a lot of this reflection you're talking about, it really does come into play. And I'm finding that, and we're still having a hard time here in Canada in terms of um, jobs for women in midlife. Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to come back to you, Laura, in terms of what your career has been, what you had experienced, and what you're doing now in terms of your business.
Yes. So I would say I have been pretty fortunate. I've lived in the United States my whole life. I don't know if I have I been how have I been fortunate might be the better question.
Sure.
I was raised on a farm outside of a very small town in North Dakota, and I was raised to be I'm the oldest daughter, and there's a stereotype about them like you want something done, give it to the oldest daughter.
Absolutely.
Very self-sufficient, love and with an astrology leaning, I also have an Aries South node, which means I'm very comfortable like taking charge and doing something myself. But I have had this, I can do it type of mentality. As I progressed in life, I, studied engineering at university, went on, to work for a big five consulting firm. I moved to New York City. And you can imagine, the people around me were not farm kids from the Midwest. So I think I stood out in a certain way. I was definitely a hard worker. I was dependable. I still am. You
Sure.
can kind of throw something at me. I took a couple years off of corporate. I have gone back out of necessity. Again, single mom, I need that stability.
Of
But
course.
yeah, during those couple years I took off, I think in the last 10 years or so, I've I have felt this pull and it's been getting stronger and stronger. You can do these things, but similar to that conversation you're having with your daughter right now, and you said yourself, like 20 years ago, I would maybe just take a job just for a job. But yeah, as you get older, you realize what you're good at and what you like, and what having a role that brings you alive becomes much more important. And you also do better. You are a better
Absolutely.
performer, you're more effective.
Yes.
And so the work that I do now, and I sort of in corporate, it sort of just fell together. I took this role almost a year ago, and it's in corporate travel. And like all industries, it's changing a lot right now with a lot of technology coming in.
Hmm.
Corporate travel, though, has also been stuck a little bit in this. I don't want stone ages might not be the right term, but it's lagged behind other industries because there are so many separate systems involved in it, and integrating the systems hasn't been a natural thing for the business models of the major
Sure.
players, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
And so transformation within corporate travel management is so needed. And I happen to be in a role at the company where I talk a lot about travel management and oversee travel management and trends in travel management. And so I get the opportunity now to actually think about how are we going to transform it. And that's so exciting to me because I love transformation. It just so happens that that's the entrepreneurial vein, this
Yes.
side, this other business that I've started.
Hmm.
And I never thought in a million years they would come together, but they have. And fortunately for me in my corporate career, um, I've been fortunate to work for great people, both men and women. In my current role, though, however, there's a couple of things that are really amazing. Number one, the company I work for, leadership is very supportive of menopausal women. They're in the major market with my team. It's not in the US, but they have a menopause support organization for menopausal women. My VP, who is a man, is one of the biggest advocates for this organization. He's obviously he has a wife and he
Right.
cares
Exactly.
and he has a huge team of women who are
Yeah.
very talented and he hired them for a reason. And so, when they're in a meeting and they forget a word, and then he's able to have these open conversations with them after the meeting and they like, they're like, oh, my brain fog. Like that's not, he sees like there's a difference. That is not indicative of your capabilities. That is, a menopause, perimenopause thing, which by the way, there's brain science behind that. Our brains are rewiring during this time, which
Yes.
is responsible for all of these feelings that we're having, meaning things like, why am I not willing to sacrifice everything for everyone anymore? What's wrong with me? Why am I not so giving? No, it's not that you're not so giving. It's that your brain has finally shut off all the estrogen. You still have some, but
Exactly.
like, yeah, it's and like neural pathways are getting pruned and the most important ones are staying. And the postmenopausal brain is probably the most sophisticated version of the human brain that exists, period. Stop, end of story. Like I'm talking male brains, female brains at all different stages. The postmenopausal female brain is the most efficient and the most well-rounded. We can jump from qualitative to quantitative and
Yes.
integrate the two into a problem solving.
Hmm.
And so this whole space just really, really excites me as I sit here on the verge of, entering my 50s, right? And I think too that our world is poised and we're at such a great point. We're at a tipping point in a lot of ways. People are waking up to more of the resurgence of old ancient wisdom. When I took my little, I'll call it sabbatical, I took a course on the qualities of energy, or like the science of quality, qualitative energy. It's based on ancient Egyptian temple science, you know? And yes, I do follow astrology. I had a moment just the other day where I was like a self-awareness, noticing my mood and just feeling very frustrated and sort of down. And it occurred to me, wait a minute. Oh, I know where Pluto is, and I know that it's coming
Yep.
into this certain angle with a
Mhm.
like three of my very important personal planets. And I sat down and I was looking at it and did some research. Took, I don't know, a couple hours to do this. And I wrapped my head around it. And I realized the next 2.5 years for me, Pluto's the planet of transformation,
It
by
is.
the way.
Yes, it is.
And
That
I,
I'm
and I
aware of.
thought,
Yes.
and part of me thought, oh no, this is going to be a really hard 2.5 years. And then I said, wait a minute. Like I'm stepping into this role where I'm talking about transformation. This is happening for me. And so that it's that line of thinking that I want to help other women wake up to. The possibility. I mean, we are all divinely designed. We
Yes.
all have a purpose.
Mhm.
If you're feeling out of alignment, then that's happening for a reason. And there is a way to find it again. And yeah, there's all these really cool scientific tools that we can use, which I think helps give women, I know it helps me, get the courage
Mhm.
to
Yes.
go after it.
Right.
And
Right.
also to calm the mind. Again, 2 days ago, I was sitting there. I mean, like literally, I was like really bummed about life. And then I sat down and spent some time with that. And I was like, oh. Number one, now I know why I feel this way. Now I know why I feel frustrated and bummed out and maybe a little even depressed. I hate that word. But now I understand it more, and it's liberated me from this, like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling so down? And, you just gotta like really get still with yourself and use those tools and the information that we have available to find that next best step. There's always a really good answer. You have to be willing to see it.
I A couple of things there that you mentioned now too, Laura, was first going back to the leadership, and I find that like you're those women in that room with the VP very lucky to have that,
Yeah.
that kind of compassion, understanding. And this is what I scream in Canada to all leaders, especially male, is that stop trying to, because ageism does exist, right? Let's just call it what it is. And then there are some men that are intimidated by midlife women because we do have more experience. We are mothers. They say like the best people to hire are mothers, right? But we have those young leaders who just want to, stamp their existence. They want to make sure they're doing change, but in more of a tactical, but not more of a emotional way towards certain women. Now, I'm not saying
Mhm.
that we should be sorry for our midlife women, absolutely not. It's like what the VP did is have the brain fog came in, and he kind of whatever the conversation was, and
Oh,
then
have some
afterwards,
compassion. Yeah, some
yes,
compassion and like,
exactly,
oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
really, is it that big of a deal? You know?
No, I remember going on a call it was during COVID. I remember this very well. And I remember I was just starting my brain fog and everything, and I'm teaching and I'm doing my master's degree at the same time. So everything is online. And then I remember going on, I was just frustrated. Like you say, you have days where you're depressed, you have days where you're angry, you have days where you're frustrated. Well, I was frustrated. And then I went on the call, and then I was probably one of two women from a group of 10. And then I said, sorry, guys, I look this way. I'm a little bit frazzled because I've had a really bad time through perimenopause. And the men are, I was very surprised that it was the women that said, oh, we
Uh,
don't talk about that. Right. And the men were actually the ones to say, yeah, my wife is going through it. I don't know what to do. Right. So
oh,
make that normal in
bless
conversation.
them.
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Exactly.
And there
Exactly.
are, one of my favorite doctors, functional medicine doctor, Mindy Pels.
Yes.
She was giving a speech in the last 6 months or so, and I mean, obviously, like lots of feedback from women, but there were men in the audience, and they came up to her afterward and were like, "What can we do? How can we support our wives and the other women we know?" And I just thought that was really great. Really great to hear. And I think that's, again, I think about the spiritual aspect and the evolution of our times. And, we have, there's masculinity, femininity, there's, the different right brain, left brain. And really that this menopausal brain has that ability to show up to a situation that might involve a lot of, like a business situation, let's say. And
Yes.
there's some sort of like a timeline and a production going
Yep.
on. But
Hmm.
then you're digging in and like, what's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong? And you find that like maybe there's an employee who, yeah, has just come back from an extended medical leave and they're dealing with, ramping back up and proving their worth and they're nervous and their boss might be really impersonal to them and
Right.
has not made them feel like they can relax and just do their job. And they're so like on top of what they're already thinking, now they're nervous.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think it's just that awareness that people do better work when they feel like they can be themselves and mistakes are okay. And I mean, obviously, we don't want to encourage that, but you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely. Yes.
it's like having that EQ, that discernment.
Hmm.
And men and women are both capable of it. But again, I just think that women, it comes more intuitively to us because of if you go through these life experiences of raising kids, and you kind of need to be a little bit of a mind reader if you're raising kids
Oh, yeah,
sometimes,
absolutely.
and it's that, but men are also capable of it. And I don't want to, I would love to remove this stigma for the more like senior leaders, CEOs, executives who think that, well, everybody thinks I have it all figured out and I have to be the leader and I have to look like I know what I'm doing all the time and I can never make a mistake. Like I
Right.
would love like there's nothing that makes you, I think, a better leader than when you show those moments of you being an actual human being.
Exactly. Those moments of vulnerability, those moments where they assume responsibility. I've had some great male leaders who actually would look at me or look at the team and say, can I get your perspective, Emilia? Can I get, what do you think about this? Is actually allowing us to, participate in what they're thinking. And those are the leaders I find that do have the high EQ, that do have compassion. And I love to have more of those leaders, and I love to see more female leaders get into those positions as well.
Yeah.
But you know, um, and the this whole form of transformation in terms of everything, the physical, the physiological, the mental,
Hmm.
it's everything, the brain. And I could talk to you about this for hours, Laura, because I just find you very fascinating. So
That's
it's
fun.
um it's a wonder how there's so many things to look at when we're feeling this way. And I know because of my alignment, and I'm Libra, so there's Libra moons happening, and I know, I'm always reading about there's going to be a big opportunity coming up, and people will say, but no,
Oh,
I feel it, and there's an alignment there because I know there's going to be an opportunity because I'm making myself open to it. So anyway, I digress.
yeah.
But so so are you still in North Dakota now, Laura? I just want to know where you're at.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm actually based outside of Bozeman, Montana, so a little farther
Montana.
west, and I don't know, I would argue maybe a little more interesting landscape, right? We have mountains. But yeah.
Yes, mountains are beautiful. Excellent.
Mhm.
Laura, I just want to thank you again for bringing your perspective and your transformation story. We're all still transforming, right? And I want to remind our viewers that what Laura is saying in terms of the brain science makes total sense. And my mother's in postmenopause, and she used to be so, oh my goodness, anxiety, depression, everything. And she was, she's 74 now. She
Mhm.
gives me the best advice now than she's ever given me when I was younger. Okay. Like we're only 19 years apart, but the post-menopause, now she's the most calm. She's
Yeah.
the most rational. She's just unbelievable in terms of support for me. And I don't recognize her, but I'm like, I like this version of my mom.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So, but I just want to thank you again for your time. This fantastic perspectives and what your journey was, and I know that a lot of people are resonating with this. So, Laura's going to give me her credentials, and I'm going to have her socials up on the YouTube channel. But you also can have, if you're listening to this, you can go to my YouTube channel and see those credentials as well. So at this time, I want to thank you, Laura, for joining us. And I want to thank you, my audience, for listening or watching. And until next time, be well, be safe, and embrace the pause.